So you know a lot of my family,
Yes,
dude.
yeah, because I grew up over there on the north end with them all, and so I was raised around, and I'm like, why is Carlos over here? So he's cool. He was cool with my whole family because I don't know how they got entwined when they were kids, but my aunt was with him for probably 15 years.
Yeah.
And when he got out of prison, he thought or 10 years. I think he did 10,
Yeah,
right?
he did 10 the first time, yeah.
So when he was in there, like his life stood still. Yeah, because the one grandpa used to live on Navarre as you're going out to Oregon on the left-hand side. I think that's where the grandpa lived.
Yeah, maybe it was my grandpa Ernesto.
Ernesto. That's who it was.
That was the OG.
Yes.
Yeah, Ernesto.
That's what I'm thinking. Who was that?
Ernesto Negrin. That's my grandpa. That's our grandpa, the one that brought us from Cuba. He basically gave away all his land in Cuba and got us a trip to come to America.
So he brought all you guys here.
Yep. It was him, his wife, and like 14 kids. It was 7 daughters and 7 sons.
My family had nothing respect for the grandpa and all them.
Yeah.
But
that's pretty awesome. So you're basically like part of my family now.
Yeah, I was for a long time. Carlos and I could.
So Diane was your aunt, or is your aunt? I mean?
Yep. So
and they all moved to like Akron or something?
Yeah, Akron.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Have Faith, Show Love, Give Hope, the podcast. Today I have Stan Niedbalski. And how you doing, my brother?
You?
Good. Stan, I interviewed your nephew, right, Caleb. And Caleb told I was telling him, man, like your uncle's a savior. Your uncle saved you from the streets. And he said, well, my uncle has a good story too. And then I've sat here and talked to you, and you told me that you know my cousin Carlos, my grandpa, Nelson, you know, a bunch of people from the East Side, and that you grew up kind of like in the streets. But I wanted to sit down with you, and then you can tell me your story. What side of town did you grow up in? How did you find God? All of that stuff. And as you talk, I'll come up with the next question or whatever, okay?
Yeah.
How you doing? You good?
Yeah, I'm good.
So where did you grow up?
I was kind of all over the place, but mostly the east side of Toledo.
Okay. But you were in the north end too, right?
Family was in the north end.
Oh, okay.
So we bounced back and forth. My dad would take us over to the north end.
Okay. On the east side of Toledo, what kind of life did you grow up having? You grew up in the 80s and stuff?
Yes. So it was a hard life. I mean, I don't blame nothing, but we had a rough spots, you know what I mean? It was a blended families. People just struggling to make ends meet, and it had its good times, but it also had its struggles.
Yeah. And then what kind of things did you get yourself into growing up on the east side? Did you get into like deep into stuff or?
Not early. I had a lot of anger issues and just confusion by the things that I witnessed and was a part of, and not having anybody really know what love is. You know what I mean? Like people were just doing what they were taught or what they saw. So there wasn't, for the information and the knowledge that they had and the experiences they had, they tried to do the best they could.
What they don't know, they just don't know. So they can't teach you because they don't know.
No, you can't teach a soccer player if you played football your whole life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, they didn't have the information, and so you got hurt people. And so you just got a bunch of hurt people trying to do the best they can. And my dad was a good dude, and he fought for us, and he did everything he could to make it the best we could. But without God, without Jesus in your life, everything you do is ragged. So
yeah. So was there church? Was there anything like that growing up? Did anybody talk about God or Jesus or anything?
No, not really. My grandma would pray for me, and she would tell me about Jesus and that he loved me. I didn't understand what that meant. We had some Good News Club people that would come and share the gospel with us. It was on Wednesday after school. I didn't understand how anything. I didn't want anything really to do with it because the love I've already experienced. I really didn't want to experience any other false promises. My parents had it rough, and my dad's dad passed away when he was probably 12, And so it was a rough stretch for him.
Mm.
But no church was involved. We just struggled and did what we had to do.
Yeah. Did you ever get in trouble or anything like that when you were a kid and stuff like that?
I got in a little bit of trouble here and there. I wouldn't say nothing major. We did dumb things like egg
Yeah.
toilet paper.
Yeah.
But as I got older and events happened, my heart became hardened, and I didn't really trust nobody. I had trust issues. I definitely didn't want nothing to do with love or caring for people. I became more selfish as I grew older.
Mm. Yeah, and that's really bad. In the Bible, it tells us to like humble ourselves and don't make everything about us. But it's so hard to do
I
that.
made everything about me.
Yeah.
And I definitely didn't know what humble meant.
So tell me about some experiences growing up, like because Caleb told me that you lived a rough life and stuff like that. So give me like examples of some stuff that you got into you were young, because okay, now that you're a Christian and your experiences, if someone listens to this, they can listen and they can say, well, look, this guy was like this and now look at him now, and they can see the transformation that God has made in your life.
I think as I got older, it got worse.
Mm-hmm.
So when I was my teen years, I was angry and bitter, but a lot of that didn't transpire till I was in my 20s.
Mm-hmm.
That's when things really started to get bad for me.
Okay.
We had a baby early.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know how to be a dad. I didn't know what it meant to be a husband. To be honest, it scared the crap out of me.
Mm-hmm.
And now somebody who's completely selfish and angry has to be selfless and loving. They're just not in the same ballpark.
Yeah, it was hard. And then this is your oldest son or daughter?
I have three children. One's 20. I think she just turned 29, and I have 24 and 23. 2 daughters and a son.
Okay, so your first kid was a daughter?
Yes.
And you were like nervous?
I just turned 18.
So basically, after you already moved out of your mom's house and you were starting your mom and dad's house. You were starting your own life.
Yeah, and I'm trying to figure out how to be a dad, and it's not in a bad way. It's just when somebody we didn't have them conversations, and I had the baby so young, wasn't really time to prepare mentally for it. And so as the responsibilities grew, the weaker I got. So I just faltered.
Yeah. And what kind of stuff did you get into?
I started drinking, and everything that made me feel good, I did. I didn't really care about what anybody else was going through. And so I just did whatever felt good.
Yeah. Did you ever get into, like you said, you ever end up going to prison for anything or anything?
No.
So you got like the lucky ones out of it.
Yeah, I've never been to prison.
No. But you did do things that might have got you in prison, right?
Yes. Yeah, no, I deserve to be in prison. So,
they just say some people just never get caught.
Right. And I'm thankful for it. I watched my buddies get caught, and they're the reasons why I stopped.
Yeah, because a lot of the names, the people that like, but we were having that conversation, a lot of the guys that ended up going to prison, ended up,
that's
even some people losing their lives.
Yes. And so that in the end, that's what stopped me. As things started to get worse for me mentally, I got into hustling. It was quick money. It was good money. It allowed me to be selfish more. So that was an easy avenue, and it was very little resistance.
Yeah.
I just did what I wanted to do. So yes, I got into the line of hustling drugs.
Selling drugs and stuff.
And so that carried me on for quite a few years.
But you never got into where you got in any kind of trouble. It was more of a little side thing, or was it really were you full blown hustling?
I hustled every day.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, we hustled all week long.
Okay.
Um,
You just got the good end. You didn't get in any trouble.
no, I did get in trouble, but not with that.
Yeah.
I got dumb, stupid charges, but nothing. A couple of times I should have, and um, it didn't happen.
Yeah.
One time I was in a car, and a cop pulled me over, and I'm like, "Well, I'm done." And somebody sped beside me, doing like 100.
Wow.
I wish I could have got his license plates because I would have mailed him a birthday card. So the cop flew around me. So stuff like that happened.
Yeah.
Because there was no
Dude,
way.
that happened to me one time like that. I had some drugs and some money in my car, and the cop pulled me over. But he came to my window and he looked at me and he goes, "Go ahead, Yogi," because I guess he knew like some people like in my family, and he's like, "I know your family and stuff. Just go ahead." And I just took off, and I was thinking I was going to jail that whole time.
If I would have not threw it to him, I met the police at my house, I would have had it on me.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a couple times that, yeah.
Sometimes you can look back and you can see, something trying to save you, trying to, now that I believe in Jesus, I can always look back. And even when I was in prison, dude, I used to pray and I used to always like just hope for the best, and even like hope that nothing happens to my family, my kids, and just hopefully nothing happened to anybody while I was locked up. And I didn't know, but now that I learn about Jesus, it's like you think like Jesus was with you through all the walks, even through the bad times. I don't know if that's true. But.
Yes, it is, because I can go back and point to example after example after example where he was there and I didn't even understand it. I kept that lifestyle for several years, and it wore me out. I said, "Man, what is that?" "Oh man, it just gets you some energy. It ain't oh, for real?" So I did a line, and it messed my head up. I didn't realize what I was venturing into. So I still was doing things, but then my priorities started shifting. And I'm thankful I did that, because it took me to a place I couldn't recover from. And Jesus was the only way that it was going to save me. And because I would be willing to admit that I was weak. And
so you don't regret that moment. You look at it
at the
as
time I did, but today I don't, because that was a moment that led me to
breaking through.
Yes.
Yeah.
It caused me to get low enough that I had no other way but to turn to something else. And I would go back in my head. There was times as a kid I would hear about Jesus, but things was just, they were starting to click a little bit. I was down in a basement crying. I was drunk. I'm like, "Jesus, if you are who you say you are, if you exist, if you really who you are, please come down, because I don't know what I'm going to do." And it's not like a light just came on, and it took me a while to totally grasp things. But I'm like, "If you're real, please show me." And that was in probably 2004 or 5. And then I moved out in 2006. Still the same knucklehead, still doing the things I shouldn't. So I move out of town, like I'm ready for a new life.
And then how did you even get to know about out of town? Like where?
I met some people that wanted to move that way.
Okay.
And I'm like, I'm down.
Okay.
I'm a physically, mentally, spiritually, financially just busted. And I can't live this way no more. So I moved there with hopes, but I just kept doing the same dumb stuff for a little while. And
even over there?
Yeah.
Also, you didn't settle down right away?
No.
So you brought the east side to wherever you were?
Yeah, I had some stuff left over. And I wanted to make some more money. And then I said, "No, I'm done." And so,
did anybody tell you like, "Hey man, chill out, this is a small town"? Or no? The
landlord asked me if I was hustling was enough slow down.
Yeah.
So I didn't have a job. I didn't have no clothes. I didn't have no money. I had no means for anything. But I was determined to stay there to get my head right.
How did you get a place? Like someone helped you move?
Dude, this is where God does things that you don't even understand. So I'm in this town, don't know a soul. I'm laying on a mattress. I was going to this was self-inflicted. I had to make a change. And the only way to make a change was to just do a 180. And since I didn't have nothing because I didn't earn nothing, it was going to have to start from the bottom. I had to do it legit. So I went to the food bank and asked them for some food. And they gave me a little bit of food to eat. I was laying down. I walked up to Wendy's. And I'm like, man, could y'all give me a job? I said, I'll do dishes. I'll clean toilets. Whatever you need from me. I just need a job. I didn't have no money. I walked down to the Goodwill and bought a pair of ugliest black pants you would ever see so that I could work at Wendy's, and I had that black shoes. And so I started cleaning toilets and working at Wendy's. Just that was humbling. Not that I deserved anything more because I didn't put the work in for anything more, but being 29 years old and cleaning toilets, that's stuff you see in prison or somewhere.
Yeah, it's humbling.
Yeah, so I got a job at Wendy's, and then there was a factory in the town over that was hiring. And so I got a job there. But it was like 15, 20 minutes away. I didn't even have no car. So I get this job, and there was a girl named Lisa that I've not seen since. I said, hey, can I get paid to get a ride? She said, I don't want no money from you. She said, just get right. So she would take me back and forth to work. And one night I got stranded out there, and I called a cab, and the cab came, and he said, that'll be $40. I'm like, bro, I can't afford that.
Yeah.
So it was a rough start. So he left me, and I had to walk home.
Damn. So
I'm in this small town, don't know nobody.
And this is all where? Bellevue?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know nobody. So I got that job. Well, then there was a refinery hiring. So I went in there and I basically begged for the job because it was local. I could walk. And the lady took a chance on me. She said, you're a persistent son of a... I said, look, I'll do whatever you ask. So she hired me. I started working there, making decent money, but I still didn't have much. And I was just existing, just floating along. I didn't really have any game plan. I was just living there. I had nothing. I had literally nobody that was there. And so when I got that job, I started befriending some people. Well, then I met my wife, who I'm with today, while I was down there.
How did you meet her?
I think it was MySpace.
Oh, MySpace?
Yeah, I didn't have nothing but a little computer. I didn't know anybody. So I was just jogging along, and I'll talk to her.
Okay.
And
that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, and it's been a blessing.
Yeah.
But at the time, I didn't understand that.
Yeah.
So we started talking, and
so first you guys just knew each other online.
Yeah.
You didn't know her in person at all. Okay, so that's how you first met her.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so she came up where I was eating dinner one night at a local bar.
Okay.
And we just kept talking.
And you guys set this up? You told her to meet you there?
Yeah.
Okay.
So thank God she was willing to do that. This helped further change my life.
Of course.
So I'm in Bellevue. I got a decent job. I still don't really have means. I'm still dumb, still doing stupid things. I decided to go drive drunk to a club in a town over at 2:30 in the morning.
Wow.
So on my way back, I'm driving on the wrong side of the road. Trooper pulls up. So I slow down. I'm like, what's up, buddy? He said, do you think you can drive on the other side of the road? I was like, oh, man. So I pulled over, got arrested for DUI. The level of things that had to happen, I went in to talk to the prosecutor. The prosecutor was willing to work with me to get my license. I didn't have my license because when I left Toledo, I was $13,000 in child support debt. So I didn't have my license. They suspended them.
Because of the child support.
Yeah. So they want me to pay, but they want to take my means to get.
Yeah.
So I finally started working on my license. And so I had some debt back here that I had to pay. So I had to pay like $18,000, but I finally paid it. Paid off all my back child support completely. Got my license. That still wasn't enough. Still just existing, not living right.
Yeah.
Still self-motivated.
So, but you was talking to your now wife, right?
Yes.
Well, during this time, you guys are dating,
Yes.
communicating. Was she Christian, or who was guiding you to fix your life at that time?
Well, she was taking her kids to like a Bible study on Wednesday nights. So I would pull up with her, go in there and just listen. But church was a scary, scary place for me. I ran into one of my great aunts at church, and she would have thought Satan entered the room by the way she grabbed my cheeks. But I had encounters with another uncle that tried to get me in church. My neighbor used to stand at a fence with me, and I'd be drinking beer, and he'd be trying to get me to church. So I had people that was throwing the idea at me. I just didn't feel like I was worthy or deserving of anything based on my life. So I didn't put too much into it. So fast forward, we're there, and she would take me to where her kids go a couple of times. And at that, nothing came from it. So I don't know what happened. I got my job where I'm at today. And there was a guy that I worked with that was volunteered to go work with this other guy. And he didn't want nothing to do with it. They were joking, said he was a jerk. I said, well, I'll go work with this jerk. I said, I'll see. I don't think he's whatever. So
you didn't think he was a jerk?
No, I didn't know him. I said, I'll go work with this jerk. So I go over there, and after a couple of days of talking, I just talked to him, and I asked him if I could share this, and he said, yeah. We started talking about church. And just a little while before that, me and my girlfriend was trying to find a church, which wasn't something that I would have said, hey, let's go do on my own accord. Like, hey, let's just go. I was ready to go to the bar. So church wasn't something that, and somehow we got in that conversation, and she was ready. She had experienced church with her parents, and she had fond memories of things that she experienced when she was younger, and just not maybe the people around her to lead her that way. So she kind of fell away. She desired to go back. And so one day we just started church hopping. We went to Catholic churches, Presbyterian church. We went to whatever church was in the town we went to. And so then I forward again, and I meet this guy at work, and we get to talking. He's like, man, why don't you come to our church? All right, I ain't got nothing to lose. And so I said, hey, Becky, you want to go try this church out? She's like, yeah, we'll go. So we take all the kids. And the first sermon we experienced, it was in January, the beginning of the year, was Song of Solomon. I don't know if you're familiar with Song of Solomon, but it's a great love story and how romance and everything I wasn't. So she cried a couple times. And some lady come over and like approached her and like, I'll pray for you. And I'm like, we got home and said, don't ever do that again. They think I'm beating you or something. So I said, please don't cry like that. So we started going to Bellevue Alliance. And I reached back out to my buddy. I said, hey, Greg, I said, I just wanted to share with you how important that decision was for you to ask me. He said, you know, it's weird that you say that because I've never asked anybody before or after to go to church in my life.
Wow.
That was the only time he ever asked anybody to go. So we started going, and I befriended the pastor. It was the first time, and this isn't a slap at anybody, but this is the first time a man entered my life with the love of Jesus
Mm-hmm.
and trying to love me the way I should be loved.
Yeah.
And I remember looking at him like, bro, you don't want to be my friend, dude. I'm a piece of crap.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just a scumbag. He said, are you doing, I can't remember if he said, are you doing it now or whatever? He said, I don't care about your past. And the way he hugged me, yeah, that was a huge thing for me in an impactful way.
Mm-hmm.
And that was even a fiasco because he got so involved, he would just like stop over and he acted like he could fish, so we could fish.
Mm-hmm. The pastor?
Yeah.
So
he could fish, but not in the river.
Yeah, he was trying to like you know,
meet me.
What's it called? Like guide you the right way.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, but he got a couple times he started getting personal.
Mm-hmm.
We wasn't married. And he confronted me about marriage. And I'm like, bro, I'm not having that.
Okay.
I said, I'm not doing that. And he looked at me in the eyes. We were sitting in his office. He said, you either marry or leave. I'm like, I'm leaving.
Mm-hmm.
I said, y'all can talk. I'm out the door. Slammed the door and walked my funky butt home.
Yeah.
And looking back, he just wanted my walk with Christ to be right.
Yeah, yeah.
He didn't want it to be hindered by my poor choices. But when you don't know what love is, and you think love is this fairy tale, everything's got to feel good, everything's got to be warm and fuzzy. When you realize love hurts,
mm-hmm.
and it's convicting, or they're going to do things that may make you walk away from them to do what's right. Mm-hmm. I never experienced that, and I gave him some foul choice words, and I said, "You don't know my life, bro." Mm-hmm. And so I left. But the dude wouldn't stop pursuing me. A couple of times, I'm going to have to put a restraining order on this dude. You don't stop coming over my house telling me what I'm supposed to do. That was where that path took off.
That's when it first started.
Yeah.
But like, okay, so when did you feel like Jesus came to your life?
I think I accepted Christ like 20 times. Mm-hmm. I asked so many times because I never saw fruit from any of my decisions. Mm-hmm. But looking back, I really didn't have any proper, I don't want to say this, anybody in my life really to guide me that way.
Yeah. And
they just didn't know how to because it wasn't them. They didn't have it in them. So
sometimes we go to church because our wives makes us, or we go to church because our mom makes us.
No, this was all.
Sometimes, but you know.
Something was calling me.
Yeah,
there.
Something. When did you feel like Jesus himself was calling you?
So I prayed to accept Christ at church again. And like I said, I could have done it a long time ago, but I just didn't have the right influences. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you plant a seed but you never water it, it's just going to stay in the ground and rot. Yeah, it ain't going to grow because you don't have the right nutrients. So this was the first time I had people come in my life willing to call me out. And he was a little dude, but yet he wasn't afraid to get in my face. I'm like, hold on, bro, we ain't even cool like that. You know what I mean? Yeah. To start telling me what I'm about to do. It took, this man loved me. Mm-hmm. And so that was going on. And then my wife and I and my cousin Donnie got baptized. I want to say 2010 or 2011. We got baptized together. And then he married us. I chose to do the right thing and marry her. And that's now, even though I'm doing that, my life is still chaotic. I'm still self-absorbed. I'm still thinking my way. Mm-hmm. I'm still don't understand what it means to love yet. Mm-hmm. So even though I'm making that initial step, I accepted Christ. Mm-hmm. And without him, none of this is possible. Mm-hmm. Actively reading his word every single day took me 14 years to get to the point where I read the word every single day. Mm. I do not read. English was probably my worst course in high school.
Mm-hmm.
I was just a knucklehead. There's no positive way to spin it.
Yeah, it sounded like you had trouble with authority too.
I had respect issues. I just had issues with cops. And it's funny because God has turned that around.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had a lot of good encounters. And today, the only reason I'm even sitting here is hoping that somebody that's even questioning life, or that there is a better way, or possible that there is. And it's not just, I know Jesus or this, it's actively pursuing a relationship daily that life started to really transform for myself and my family.
So what does that look like?
So we was in Bellevue, we started going to church.
You guys got married.
We got married. I thought I was doing the right things, but I wasn't. I wasn't loving my wife the way we had a blended family. I wasn't treating my stepchildren the way I should have been treating them.
Mm-hmm.
My kids were out of town. I would be angry because I didn't get to see my kids.
Yeah.
I would be angry for a lot of reasons. I hadn't dealt with my anger issues yet. Mm-hmm. And so here I'm trying to love another woman, love her kids. Max, I can't see my kids. And I remember one day I said something about paying the bills or something. Someone said to me, "Who's been taking care of you all these years? You want to get sober and want to be the man, huh?" Mm-hmm. You was the one dependent. Now all of a sudden you want to be the one in charge. And it's just crazy how that flipped on me. So here I started going to church, seeing how people are living. So now I want what they want or got, even though it's for the wrong motives, the wrong. So I still wasn't taking care of my family. I wasn't guiding my wife the way I needed to guide her. I wasn't nurturing my wife the way. I didn't even know what that looked like. I thought paying the bills, doing all these things was enough. I didn't know how deep it really was. So it took me to the last couple of years to even figure that out. Not that it was all bad, but she had plenty of reasons to leave me. I mean, I wasn't who I needed to be when you talk about in the realm of a Christian life. But she stuck by my side, and we've been together 17, 18 years.
Wow.
And so we kept going to church. And I didn't feel qualified to be in the presence. I gave these people too much credit that were in church. Like they were superhumans and they didn't have a past. And so I struggled with my past and comparing it to other people who I felt were above me. And so that was a little bit of a struggle that I would fight with. And so we kept going there. We ended up leaving there in 2019 or
probably when COVID hit
right
or something.
Around COVID. It was right before COVID hit. We left. And we started attending Grace in Fremont. It was the first time that I had a man tell me, we were struggling, and we went in for counseling. This man didn't know us from anywhere, but it was the first time a man had told me how I'm supposed to love my wife. I'm like, it kind of hit me in the gut. I'm like, I don't want nobody to feel like this.
What did he say to you?
He just said that I had to make sure that she had reasons to say good things about me. And I had to love her like Christ loved the church and put her above, other than God, everything. And I was a selfish dude. I went fishing whenever I wanted. I went hunting whenever I wanted. I didn't ask for permission. I just did what I wanted to do. And now all of a sudden, I got to put others before myself. And I thought I was, but I really wasn't. And
I feel you a little bit on that. Like the way you said that, how you're trying to love your wife and trying to love your stepkids, but also you feel your heart torn because your real kids are over here somewhere. Like that's my story too, man.
It's damaged because you got to go to bed every night knowing that you caused that.
Yeah,
they didn't ask for any of that, and so it was. At times, I would let my kids get away with stuff because I didn't want. I shouldn't say let them get away. I didn't produce any resistance or be the disciplinary person because I didn't have really authority. They didn't live with me. I got them on the weekends. So who am I to, you know what I mean? Like
you're trying to be the best dad possible.
Right. So I would do all them things so that when they left, I didn't have the last thing I want to look at my kids and say, you're a piece of crap, and then not see them for 3 weeks.
Yeah, I know.
So it was really hard for me, and I didn't know how to balance them feelings. And so that wore on me, and it would come out on the kids in the house. They would notice that I would do things differently when they were there than when they was gone, you know what I mean? And they don't understand why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And there's times that it was legitimately hurtful, and I never meant it that way.
I know.
But I didn't understand. Like I said, hurt people. I'm hurting. So love can't come out of hurt like that. You know what I mean? If I'm angry, love doesn't blossom out of anger. So they would get a lot of kickback out of that. And them things I'm going to have to deal with forever until I meet the Lord. But I try to do the next right thing every single day. And not only make amends with my wife, but all the kids. Since we moved back here, there's just been an explosion of people coming to the Lord and restored relationships. So we kept going, and then we ended up in Fremont.
Fremont Grace?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're going there. It's a big church. Let me back up you a little bit. We just bought a house out in the country that we thought was going to be at forever. So we lived there for about 3 years. I don't even know if it was 3 years. I swore I was never moving back here. Too much pain, too much hurt. I don't want to be here. In Bellevue, I didn't have to deal with things out of sight, out of mind. I didn't have to feel nothing. I could just go about my day. None of this happened back here. And I was basically just stuffing it.
Yeah.
I was just stuffing it and ignoring it. And I would live at church one way and then go home and be another way. I don't know who I was being fake to, the church or my family, but I'm going to say both.
Yeah.
And so people would see me at church talking about I love God and go home and be a a-hole. That ain't a God you want to be a part of.
No.
So it took some experiences for me and some reality checks and some men willing enough to confront me on who I was and sit with me and share with me my responsibilities. And at that moment, things started to change. That's when I started trying to put others above myself, which is really hard.
Yeah.
We're in a self-absorbed world where everything is about us. If we don't feel good, we don't enjoy it, we don't love it, it's not good. And the hardest moments that I had to experience have brought the best rewards. We have tons of family coming to church with us. My daughter, who was basically alienated from me because of everything that happened, accepted Christ. And she comes to church with us faithfully. And
wow.
Caleb is a blessing.
Yeah.
In the situation that he mentioned that happened with Caleb, right? We didn't see him for a while. That relationship's being restored. So when I was told we wasn't going to see him till he was 18.
Yeah.
That came out of pain. And like he said, little dude's walking down the street, and I hear her yell, and I'm like, wait a minute. And I screamed, and I think he peed himself. But he came back, and on his 18th birthday, he stayed the night.
Yeah.
But since then, his mother accepted Christ with me and was trying to get her life right. My other sister accepted Christ with me. And the list goes on and on and on.
Yeah.
And so if life is different enough, people see, you know what I mean? Especially the people closest. So coming back home in Bellevue, everybody just knew me as a guy trying to be a nice guy. They didn't really experience the piece of crap that I was, the selfish dude that stayed out all night and left his wife and kids home alone and was running around town like he was cool for months and years at a time. And that's not cool.
No.
That's not a man. And I would come home and be like they were my enemies. Like, what did they do? Why I gotta be tough at home? Why I gotta be? It's not like we're gonna, you know what I mean? Like it was just asinine that I would even think to even kind of flex on my family.
That was like an egotistical you or something like that.
And I had to
humble yourself, right?
So like, why would I think that it's okay? Like, I don't like nobody to do that to me. Why would I feel like I need to make them feel that way? And then when I started hearing how people were feeling, like, man, that ain't even cool. Like, I wouldn't let nobody treat me like that. And one night I came home, it was my stepdaughter and my wife. And I said, because I had challenged some guys to go home and ask their family what life was like living with them. Do that without a counselor available. I got beat up. I'm like, wait a minute, let's one thing at a time. But at them moments, it started to eat at me. And it took me, so we started going to Grace. That happened. We was going there 6 months. And one of my buddies I used to run the streets with wanted to go to church. I'm like, cool, we ain't really like locked down to a church. But they got one up in Toledo. So Toledo, we started coming and we driving like an hour twice a week, one way. So 4 hours a week we were driving to church. So my buddy could get acclimated. I thought and then we kept coming and coming. I'm hearing stuff I ain't never heard before. I'm hearing how I'm supposed to live like I never heard before. I'm hearing how I'm supposed to be a husband like I never heard before. How I'm supposed to be a dad like I never heard before. Finally, I could feel myself taking in stuff to help me grow. And my mind is expanding to, okay, this is what it looks like. And it's not just talking it, it's seeing it, it's watching it. And so things started to slowly change. And we had some other issues go on with her kids, and I got to eat what I got to eat. You know what I mean? I caused an environment at times that people didn't understand why. And it wasn't necessarily her fault at all. But I've prayed about it. I've asked God to forgive me. Even though he forgives me, you still got to live with it.
The lack of knowledge. We don't know exactly what the Bible wants from us. We don't know what God wants from us. So by us not knowing, we're putting ourselves first. And that's kind of how when I started this podcast, Big Yogi's Garage, it was all about me, all about me. But eventually when I started learning about what God wants us to be humble, sit down with the person, have them tell their story. And now I can sit down with all different kinds of people and get a lot of more
people
information.
Don't care about how much you know until they know how much you care. And you don't care if you're not willing to sit down with them. Today, sometimes I got to remember I got to do things. Or my wife and I got a marriage. We've been so involved. It's been situation after situation for the last probably almost 7 years in our lives. And I don't want anybody to ever sit in that feeling for no reason. If somebody will listen to me share the gospel that Jesus Christ died on the cross for me, for you, for anybody listening, so that you don't have to be alone, that he can be in your life. You can't have it without it. He didn't die on the cross so you can just say, I heard about him. He wants you to know him intimately. And when I started reading the Bible, I think it was January 1st of last year, we were going through reading the whole Bible. And I read the whole Old Testament. I'm reading the New Testament, and I'm seeing who Jesus really is, and I'm seeing his truths play out, and I'm seeing his promises play out, seeing who true characters of who he is, paying attention to it, listening to it, following it. And guess what, bro? Things change because it ain't about me.
Yeah.
He's a jealous God. It's about him, what he does for us, and for anybody willing to. I share it with anybody. I can't stop sharing it.
Yeah.
What he brought me from, I don't deserve. I deserve nothing but death, prison, alone. I don't deserve the people I have in my life. I don't deserve the wife that I have, the job that I have, the resources that I have. I don't deserve any of it.
Yeah. But God has a plan for you.
He
has a plan for you. Like he knew that you one day were going to be guiding all of these people to him.
It's amazing to sit back and reflect on the change when you really turn to Him with your spouse, with your kids, with your finances, with your property, with your business, with your job. Give it all to Him because it's all His to begin with. We're just stewards of what we have. And so when we started going to Grace Point, that's when things really started to.
It's like that seed really started getting watered in there, right?
Yes, it was.
Because what's that parable where it says like there's a farmer, he drops seeds, some are on stones, some are, I forgot the
rocky ground, so dirt. Yes.
So at Grace, what is it called? Grace
Point.
Grace Point. That's when your seed really started getting, and you start absorbing that water. And
I finally started hearing what I needed to hear and reading what I needed to read. You can't do nothing with you don't know. If you don't have the information, you're going to spin in circles. So you have to be willing to do the work. You got to do some work to get. It's not just He's going to do all these things. But if I look back in my life, all the time I was sitting there, God kept putting people in my life every single day, whether they were Christian, non-Christian, wherever they were at, they were people to help me progress and move forward to where I needed to be. I was down there broke, bro.
Yeah.
Laying on a mattress on the ground.
Yeah.
I was eating food from a food pantry. I had nothing. Who am I to say anything? It was self-induced. I needed to go through it. I needed to feel every burn that I felt. And then people just would show up and hey. And so when we was at Bellevue Alliance, I had a group of men that I would walk with. I befriended the pastor. We'd go on rides. We'd go on car trips. We'd go on fishing trips. And they would continuously pour into me. I'm a slow learner. And it took multiple years, or maybe it just wasn't my time. I don't know, but it all came to fruition when we finally came here, and an explosion of people started coming to Christ. I had the privilege just a couple of weeks ago, maybe a month now. My wife called me. Her uncle was dying, and he had cancer, and he only had so much time to live. And so she asked me if I'd go up there and pray with him, if he would accept or listen to me. I said, do they know I'm coming up there? She's like, no. So I was about to go up to the hospital and share the gospel with you.
Yeah.
I said, all right, well, pray for me. I'm going to go up there. So we got to talking for a couple of minutes, and I told him that Jesus loved him and shared some more about what Jesus did for him. He accepted Christ like a week before he passed. So watching all that happen, that wouldn't have happened if we wasn't doing life the way we should. And them are the things that are the greatest blessings, the people who we're going to take with us.
Yeah.
Not people we're going to leave behind. All the material stuff's going to stay. Brother, if I could share the gospel 24/7 with people, I would. They'd probably put a restraining order on me. And what's messed up is when we was at that church, I remember the pastor, he kept coming up to me, and he pursued me like crazy. I'm like, dude, I remember promising. I said, dude, I never felt that. And actually, I was on a softball team, and a dude ran by and hit my pastor. I'm like, bro, you just hit my pastor, dude. He's like, so he started jumbling at me. He said, what would Jesus do? I said, Jesus wouldn't have hit my pastor. So we're jawing, and I'm praying probably to the wrong God. I said, I hope this dude hits the ball up the middle so he has to come home. So I smack him, and he flips up in the air, and I said something cocky back to him, but I was raw. But that's how much them people meant to me, because they were the first ones. I'm like, dude, you ain't about to beat up my pastor.
Yeah. So God was trying to come to you, but like through that pastor too, he was following, like trying to what is it called when you guide somebody the right
mentor.
way, like a mentor. Yeah, he was trying to be your mentor.
Yeah, he was in my life regularly, and calling me
but
out.
You still wasn't physically ready yet.
No, I was getting mad because he was telling me what I was doing was wrong. And then here I'm trying to do something I don't know how to do because I've never seen it done.
Yeah, but he wasn't teaching you he's telling you what's wrong, but he has to teach you and explain to you.
He was trying to live it in front of me.
Oh yeah.
So he was showing, and so we would read, but I wasn't really taking it all in.
Mm-hmm.
Like I got a whole bunch of feelings outside still I'm dealing with. So
yeah,
it's hard to deal with all this while you're dealing with these feelings and these emotions. You go home and life's chaotic. You go here, life's chaotic.
Yeah.
And then I want to talk about Jesus.
You weren't stable enough.
Yes, I wasn't mentally stable enough
to absorb everything.
Right.
But when you got to Grace Point, that's when you already like you felt more mature, probably.
Yeah, I started to understand from going to Grace before I was already hearing what I was supposed to do.
Oh, okay.
And then he said, how do I say this? Women are supposed to respect their husbands, but you can make it a lot easier. And it's hard for your wife to respect you when you ain't doing respectful things.
Mm.
And so I realized if I did the things Christ asked me to do, my wife willingly does the things that I need her to do.
Yeah.
It's really weird. If you like, why would she want to be respectful to me?
Mm-hmm.
I'm laying on the couch all day watching football, not doing anything, not taking care of yard work. That's real respectful.
Yeah.
So it's hard, even though she's called to do it. It's challenging because I'm not making it easy.
Yeah.
So now that I understand what it means to love my wife, I still don't do it perfectly. I still I still have flaws in it. But the difference today is I'm convicted faster. I repent faster and I turn faster, and we don't stay in that in our house. It doesn't mean I'm still not going to be selfish.
Mm-hmm.
It just means today I know how to get out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Before it would just, she would be mad, I'm mad, she's mad. We're both locking in on our selfish, and it's chaos.
Yeah, it never gets you nowhere.
It don't get you nowhere. And I'm like, you know what? Jesus doesn't do that to me.
Yeah.
Jesus loves me 24/7, 365, every single second of the day.
No matter what you do.
No matter what I do. But I'm telling these people, you got to do certain things to get my love.
Mm-hmm.
How crazy is that to ask that of God, but then to turn around and not give that to the people you love?
Mm-hmm.
And so that was an eye-opening experience for me. And so my wife would have been here, but she had to work, and she works way out of town, so she couldn't get here.
That's okay.
But
but you guys like now, okay? Now that when I met Caleb, when I talked to Caleb, which is your nephew, I had him on here a few weeks ago. He basically, the way you and your wife live now, you know, of course you guys are going to have, you know, your times where it's not all 100%, but the way you guys walk your life now through Jesus Christ is what gave him, you know, the you guys set the example.
Well, he would hear us arguing for a minute. He would think it was about to break out, and we would laugh. And see, the kids didn't get to see that. And so I had to tell him, the kids didn't always see that. So don't discount how they feel. This is growth that happened after the fact. And both of us leaning into God and putting God in the middle of our marriage, intentionally fighting for our marriage is the only reason this works. Today, I'm not letting, I know he says don't let the sun set while you're fighting. Or it doesn't do us any good. So I look at it like a baseball pitcher that gives up 2 home runs, or a quarterback that throws an interception. Yeah, you're only good if you can just have a short-term memory. You can't remember that last pitch. So why am I arguing? What am I doing in this situation? Is it that important? And do I got to be right? Different things. Our marriage is more important than being right for a second.
Of course.
And so if I'm right, somebody's wrong. Or, you know, if I win, you lose, and we're one in flesh. So why do we want the other to lose? And so it's the learning process to how to love your spouse is so against culture, because we're taught the complete opposite. And she doesn't like me every day. Yeah, of course. But she loves me every day. And it's, how do they say it? Go to bed and we'll wake up and start again. We're together. Before we would throw the divorce word around all the time. Anytime I was mad, I'm done. How is that fair to the kids, to anybody? That's unstable. Nobody really can get comfortable, because the next fight is going to turn into a situation. Maybe it's this time. They've already went through it with their parents, their other their dad, and so it's just not fair.
Yeah.
I didn't set the groundwork for growth. I didn't set the groundwork for safe. I was only focused on what I was feeling at that time. And that was superior to anybody else. And that's really selfish.
Yes, that sucks. I've been in situations like that too. So don't feel so bad, because I'm on my third marriage. So I've been into, some situations, and even with my kids and all that, like, I wish I could have been a better dad. I wish I could have been I wish I didn't have to go through I'm glad where I'm at now with my beautiful wife Sandra, and we're in a good marriage. But dude, I never wanted to ruin that first, relationship. I wanted to be with my kids forever. I wanted to be around, but it shit didn't work out. Let's take a little break real quick, because I just want to check the camera and make sure everything's working good.
Okay.
All right, we took a little break. I want to check on the camera, make sure everything's working good. But okay, so where were we at? We were talking about, okay, you finally start absorbing, all this stuff, and becoming a better husband and a better role model, not only for your wife, but for a lot of other people around you, right?
Caleb, a couple of times, he got nervous. He thought it was about to be a full-blown fight. Mm-hmm. And he come back around the corner, we're laughing. Yeah. I can't, today, I cannot allow that to linger in my house. Knowing what I know now, I can't have that go on. And as a spiritual leader of the home, and I'm supposed to nurture my wife, it's hard to ask God to be forgiving of me or to be there for me when I can't even do my job. Mm-hmm. I got a responsibility. I gotta take care of it. And yeah, it's a lot different today.
Yeah. And so now that you can the fruits, right? The fruits are growing, because that seed is started getting watered, right? And now you can see the fruits from all the all that knowledge that because there has to be a point where you start letting the knowledge to go into your heart to learn, right?
Yeah, just submissive, obedient.
Oh yeah, obedient.
So God, I pray a lot, like, God, what do you want from me today? Put something in my path. And I ask it almost every day, that I can be your servant, whatever you need from me. Let me be that. And I've had, I think, 5, I don't know how many coworkers come to Christ. Mm-hmm. We have an active group of people that are growing together and serving together. And brother, I couldn't imagine that. It didn't make sense to me coming from where I come from. The drinking, the drugs, the smoking, mm-hmm. the violence.
When did you quit all that drugs and drinking?
2008.
2008.
Yes, I quit drinking. No, I quit smoking, mm-hmm. but I still drank.
Smoking cigarettes and stuff.
I quit smoking cigarettes in 2007, 8. Mm-hmm. But then I'd go to the bar and bum cigarettes. Mm-hmm. And my buddy's like, "You didn't quit smoking, you quit buying." And this is before packs were like $12.
Yeah, yeah.
But we'd have probably been in a fight. But so I'm like, I took Chantix. Mm-hmm. And that was a rough ride. I took that for about 2 weeks, and I had to just, at that point, a pharmacist told me to try cinnamon sticks. So I went to Cracker Barrel and bought like every cinnamon stick they had in the building. And then I quit. I quit drinking, partying, gambling, all pretty much in the same time.
Okay. So then, but were you already in church? Was that when you were at your old church, or no?
I wasn't in church.
You wasn't in church at all?
No, I wasn't even going to church. The cost of it was just getting crazy. Yeah. And I really didn't want to smoke. My wife didn't smoke. Nobody around her smoked. Mm-hmm. Her family didn't smoke. So I had nobody around me that I could even go smoke a cigarette with. I'd be by myself.
That's even better.
So
it guided you like that way.
There was one embarrassing moment, and my wife, she's okay, I think. She shared this. We went to Monsoon Lagoon.
Mm-hmm.
I had worked all night, all day.
It's like a little water park around here. Yeah.
But I didn't know they had a wet bar. I never experienced a wet bar.
Oh, yeah.
So she went with her kids. I'm like, I'm just going to sit at the wet bar. Mind you, I haven't ate. It's like 11 o'clock. It's like 80 degrees.
Yeah.
I'm in a wet bar, and I'm drinking Long Island iced teas. I drank about 6 of them.
Wow.
And I remember looking over at the guy next to me. I said, I don't even have to get out of here to pee. And dude looked at me, scooted over a little bit. Like, I'm just going to sit here and chill. So anyways, I get out of the pool. And my feet weren't so straight.
Yeah.
That beat me up.
Yeah, that's a lot of liquor.
Yeah, so I walked down to the putt-putt where my wife's at, and there's a family eating. So I'm like, hey, ma'am, can I eat with you? Or you gonna eat all that? And I lay down, and she's like, honey, this is what you do to drunk idiots. And she kicked me.
Wow.
I'm like, oh, okay. I couldn't move. I was paralyzed.
Yeah.
I'm just taking the kicks.
Yeah.
So that was an embarrassing moment.
Yeah, it's an embarrassing moment for your wife.
Yes, she was totally mortified. And that was the last time. I'd never really drank in that setting before. That was the first time I've ever done that, and that was the last. So it wasn't much longer after that I quit everything.
Yeah.
I got to thinking, like, how am I going to be with a woman that's classy and wants to do the right thing if I'm over here smoking and burning all of our money up? So
yeah. And Long Island iced teas are like all liquor.
Yes, like 10 different liquors.
Yeah. So you were over there just having fun, and then all of a sudden you got up and you're like, holy.
Yeah, my legs just wobbled.
Yeah. So yeah, you didn't realize what you were doing.
No.
You were enjoying the day at the pool.
I was the first time in that experience. I'm like, man, this is nice. I can just sit in the pool, pee. I don't have to get up. It's just like, yeah.
Yeah.
And so that was enough. Well, after I got my DUI, I had to go to DUI school. And so this is how slow of a learner I am. I'm in the DUI school. We get done, telling everybody how messed up we are, and the people go to bed, and they had a bar there. So I go down to the bar, and I'm drinking, and bartender comes up. He said, buddy, you ain't by chance in the DUI class, are you? I'm like, yeah. He's like, can you go back to your room? And I'm like, can I get a 6-pack to go? we cool with that.
That's weird that there's a bar there.
Yeah, it was in Sandusky, dude. There was that. Why would you put a DUI class right next to a bar?
Oh man.
Yeah, I wasn't ready to quit.
Yeah, that's so messed up. It's like the devil sitting there, just like, come here.
Yeah, that's exactly what I did. I just followed the rabbit trail. So it took me a minute to understand that, and this was God. There's no way that I could have made it through all them experiences and situations with no money, no nothing. That God was preparing. I mean, my boss at the refinery, he took me on like his son, and he would do all these things for me and be in my life. And I'm like, he was an old Italian dude that he had his own story, you know what I mean, on his journey. And he treated me like his son, and he just did stuff. And I had them types of situations with people in my life that finally I was seeing what it meant to take care of each other, you know what I mean? And in a godly sense. And it was, yeah.
Yeah, Caleb told me that he was telling me all kinds of things about you, and he kept bringing you up and your wife up in the interview that I did with him. But he also said that you got a bunch of connections in the neighborhood, like a mechanic, a farmer, a guy that does this, He said, and that shows him like, man, if I keep walking this walk, that one day I can have like a bunch of people like around me that can help me when I get a flat tire and when this happens and when that.
I was
happens.
raised. You could ask for help. It wasn't common, you know what I mean? It wasn't. You borrow a cup of sugar, you better have 2 cups next week. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I had some in the hood. It's a little different. These are relationships. Like I remember telling my wife early on, because my wife is a really nice lady, and she'd be always just like, "Yeah, we'll do this." I'm like, "Man, why are we doing all these nice things? They're going to want something from us. We ain't doing all that. Well, we don't. That's too nice. We don't do nice things because people are going to use us. They're going to want something from us." As soon as because you do something. Remember that one time you was over there, you owe me.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, so I was supposed to drop everything because you did that for future gain. You didn't do it because you cared about me.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was just a new world. And I know when I first came to Christ, I probably was I acted poorly towards some of my family because I started to blame them for the things that I had gone through.
Mm-hmm.
And because I've seen other families live differently. And today I know that they're just as messed up in a lot of ways. I saw Facebook moments with people, and then I started to like get mad at my parents or this person. I could never blame my mom, my dad, anybody in my family for making the choices that I made. I made them because they were fun. I made them because it was easy. There was no real hard work. I didn't have to put up money. It was free money. So I did it because I wanted to, and it was masking all my pain. Like I said, if it felt good, I did it, and I didn't care if it felt good for you. It's just a messed up way to live, and everything felt good, but the consequences don't.
Yeah.
If I'd have known all the trails of things I was going to leave behind and all the wake of the things that I was going to have to come back and try to fix, I'd have just stayed where I was at. I didn't appreciate anything.
Yeah. It takes a while before you can actually not blame your mom and your dad. Because I did that. Like, my dad wasn't around, and that's why I ended up not having a father figure. But really, man, there's so many good people trying to guide us, and we're like, no, we're trying to like, no, my dad wasn't there. So as we grow up into adults, and until we actually realize it, like, it's it's our problem to.
So putting your parents on this pedestal they don't belong on sets us up for failure. They don't have God. They're trying to do what we're trying to do today, and then add some young feeding mouths, to pay for mouths to feed. They didn't have God, so we're putting them on this pedestal they don't belong. My dad needed God just like I needed God.
Yep.
My mother needs Jesus just like I need Jesus.
Yep.
My family needs Jesus just like I need Jesus. So instead of being mad at them, today I pray for them because I'm thankful they brought me into this world.
Yeah.
Instead of being mad, if they didn't do what they did, I wouldn't even be here.
Yeah. And
so instead of blaming them, try to make today better. Today, my mom goes to church with us. She accepted Christ, and she goes. I've had 3 or 4 nephews accept Christ. Not all of them are actively pursuing Christ and coming, but there's a lot of them that are. And Caleb's been a huge blessing. He struggled with a lot of things. And so to be able to sit with him, I had uncles that did it for me. I had uncles that would take me on road trips and try to get me away. I had grandparents that would take me with them on the weekends. So I had glimpses of what it looked like. But marriage wasn't a common thing. And if it was, hey, I'm done with you. Because I had bad relationships, so I didn't respect women. So if you didn't have anything to offer, whether it was sex, whether it was some kind of financial gain or something to make me feel good, well, I don't need you. And I used to say that a lot early on, like, I don't need you. I think we train ourselves in certain environments and certain cultures that we got to be this tough person. And we don't. God says when you're weak, you are strong in him. He's the strong one. And so, and I started learning that I don't have to be tough. And why am I tough like I said, tough at home? These are the people, my wife would have a thing, the kitchen table was a no drama zone. And I would violate that time to time, and it would hurt her feelings. Because why can't we come to the table to enjoy dinner together without worrying about being chastised? But hurt people. And I'm not thinking about their feelings. My feelings are important. This is how I'm feeling, so you're going to feel it.
Yeah.
And so it's a whole new way of life that has to be practiced and trained in reading and understanding, knowing, like I said, God's truths, who he is, his character, his promises, if you do what he says. And today we're prospering, not just like we're making all this money, but we're watching people come to Christ left and right, and people growing in their lives, and their family tree is changing.
Yeah.
And so one of the things people would say to me, "Don't act brand new," um, and different statements like that. I'm like, no, I don't forget where you came from.
Yeah.
I don't.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to make sure that these people don't experience what I came through,
Mm-hmm.
and they can grow, and they can survive. So it's just I'm probably blabbering on it, but it's been so inspirational for me. The best part of this whole experience is watching other people's lives be transformed. Watching a Caleb who's blossoming and wanting to pursue Christ and everything that he does. If I died walking out of this building, I'd be cool with that.
Yeah.
Just him turning, and he didn't have to go through all the pains that I went through because he doesn't have kids. He didn't have all these experiences yet. So he can still go on without it having to have all that pain attached to his daily walk.
Yeah. You set a great example, man. I know you've been through a lot of stuff, but the walk that you're walking right now sets a great example for the people that are coming up behind you. You know,
There's a buddy of mine I seen at work today. In 2012, we had some tough conversations, and he thought I was being a jerk. And I was telling him how he needed to go be in his community and coach and be with the young kids. And he fought me on it. Today he's a coach. When you can share what you've been through and you can find people willing to listen to it and pivot, man, it's awesome to watch young people change and not have to go through that and be an example for the other young people. I didn't want to come back, like I said, because I didn't want to feel the pain. I didn't want to be reminded of the trail that I left and have to look in the face of people hurting and know that I had a part of it. But to come back and be able to watch people, I do it every time.
Yeah, because there has to be a reason why you left. God wanted you to, go to your lows. God wanted you to learn from all that, and now He's bringing you back to try to help out as many people as you can.
I was broken in every sense, and through death. My father committed suicide. I've had multiple deaths. I could go on and on for a long time, just the deaths. I have peace. I have comfort because I have Christ in me. It doesn't mean it don't hurt. It just hurts different.
Yeah.
And we've seen so much and been so much pain. I just thank God every single day that I wake up. I try to wake up every day and say, God, thank you for letting me breathe. And because without you, I don't have nothing. This breath that I have isn't mine.
Yeah.
It's borrowed.
Yeah.
What am I doing today that's honoring to you to help the next person, to do the next right thing? And that's one of the biggest things that I got. Our pastor early on in Grace Point was the next right thing. And I'm like, what's the next right thing? Well, it depends on the situation, what's going on.
Yeah.
You have to determine what the next right move is. Before, I never would do that. And my wife still has moments where she don't trust a response that I have. She might not trust a decision I make, or if she sees me going to respond a certain way because I did it 100 times. It takes time. You got to keep building the trust to show that it's different.
Yeah.
And there's times that a situation comes up that feels the same way, that triggers or makes them. You hit a dog 100 times, you raise your hand, he's gonna think you're gonna hit him again.
Yeah.
And so you gotta show over and over and over, and daily, weekly, monthly, yearly, hey, this is a different person, so that they can learn to trust.
A lot of things changed, but like from the day that you walked into the Grace Church, and now what do you do there? Like, you know what I mean? Do you help people out? Do you talk to people? Are you part of the, the church groups?
Yes,
or anything like that?
we're active. I don't serve probably the way I should, like the rest of my family does.
But you also have a full-time job and all that
Well,
stuff.
not only that, I picked my mom up for church, and I'm doing different things. I'm around a lot of people, so I'm serving in ways maybe that's not necessarily directly in church, but we're active.
You're bringing people to the church,
Yes.
though.
So there's a lot of relationships that I have that it takes up a lot of time. So my wife serves. She sings on the worship team. Caleb sings on the worship team. We have other friends and family that are serving inside the church. I mean, I do serve. If they need me to do something, I'll do it.
Yeah,
If there's an opportunity. We just had an event. We was working in the community, and I was there. It's definitely a balance that you got to learn, because it wears you out. If you take in 15 dump loads of garbage and you're not in the Word, you're gonna be wore out. So it's balancing it. And today I try to read the Word every single day. I try to pray every single day. And when I put everybody else above myself, a lot of times I get what I wanted anyways, or get what I was looking for, but I'm not doing it in a bully way. They're wanting to do that.
Yeah.
And the gifts and their presence feels better, because they're not forced to do what they're doing.
Yeah, you're still serving, dude. Like, by you bringing people to church, by you guiding Caleb, guiding all these people. You know, like you said, your daughter or your stepdaughter or somebody going to church.
No, it was my oldest daughter.
Your oldest daughter going to church. But you're actually serving the Lord, because you're bringing people to Him. And what Jesus said, He wants us to believe He came to serve us, believe He died, have faith in Him, but then also pick up His cross and guide people towards Him, right? And that's what you're doing.
Yeah, we pick up our cross daily and experience with Christ. I can't imagine ever going back to any way that I used to live, think, and feel. I don't want anybody to go to bed feeling any kind of wrong way based on what I did. I don't want my wife going to bed because of me scared. She's shared recent things with me that I made her feel certain kinds of ways, and I'm like, that ain't cool. Even if she's wrong in it or feeling, it doesn't matter. That's a conversation to be had. But I don't ever want nobody to be hurting because I'm doing something to them. And that's being selfless. That's being Christ. Hey, I'm focused on you and the cross and what you did for me. Nobody's going to want a God when you're not trying to live like Christ. They don't want you to go home and ignore everybody and then say, hey, follow Jesus.
Yeah.
So it's been a big struggle for me that just in the last 5 to 7 years that I started seeing it, but really within the last, I don't want to lie, but the last year, where things I'm really getting it. I still get yelled at. I still slept on the couch.
Yeah.
But it's a different atmosphere where people should be able to be safe and home and around you.
Yeah.
And if you're living a life for Christ and you're doing that, people's lives are going to get dark enough. They're going to want to know. We live in some tough times.
Yeah.
We got half the world hating the other half of the world. People fighting, starving, losing jobs.
Yeah.
We have a great time to share who Jesus is.
Of course. Because in the Bible, I think in Matthew 6 or something, it says something like, I'm not sure the whole scripture, but it says something like, we're supposed to be the light
of the world and salt of the world. I mean, if nobody around us, and now let me say it like that, if we're truly being the light and the salt of the world, somebody's going to want to know what's going on. I mean, if you started making millions of dollars on the east side, somebody's going to be like, man, what's Yogi doing?
Yeah.
If you started working out and you got all buff, man, what you eating, Yogi?
Yeah.
Where you been hitting it at? Like,
yeah.
But if we're saying we love Christ and we're living for Christ, but our bodies are the same, everything's the same, you got to show that there's something different. And people want to mimic that. They want to mimic how you lost weight. They want to mimic how you're making your money if you're doing good. But if you're following Christ and nobody's really even looking at you, you got to look at, are you really living differently?
Yeah.
And so for me, a lot of times, like I said, I was being fake. I wasn't intending to be fake, but I would live one way in one group and one way in the other. So we wonder why people hate church and hate Christ. Well, they got bad examples. We're giving poor examples of what Christ did for us. So that's when things really started to pivot. That's when things really started to change. Is when I solely dedicated myself to trying to mimic Christ and what he did on this earth for us.
Yeah, I always think that if if all of us, not, I mean, I don't know, it just, but if like, let's say a young family, go to church, read the Bible, and they actually have a good relationship like that, that could lead them to like endless amounts of everything. You know what I'm saying?
You don't have to. You can't catch a STD if you've only been with one woman.
Yeah.
You can't do a lot of things if you do it right. And there's so many statistics out there that by the time, and I'm not trying to be funny to you, but by the time you get to second, third, fourth marriages, they're almost extremely hard to. You have all the baggage in front of it.
Of course, yeah.
And so there's fights that have been in our marriage because of our previous marriages. So my wife's got to compare herself to everybody I've been with, or all these things, and so we introduce all these negatives, and now you're fighting all of them. Then you got to fight the regular daily grind. You don't have to compare. You don't have to think about all these things, and you don't have to have all this baggage. Man, having 6 kids blended, I messed up a lot. That's a lot of feelings.
Yeah, a lot of different feelings.
And a lot of different personalities, and trying to balance them while you're focused on you. Then if you try to focus on your spouse, and it's almost impossible. And so I regret the way I treated my stepkids. I regret the way I did my kids. Life is not like that today, but it took us to go through a lot of pain to be willing to turn. And if my wife and I both didn't point to the cross, point to Christ, and do this every single day, it wouldn't work.
Yeah.
It takes a team.
Yeah, equally yoked.
Yes. And I didn't know what one flesh meant. I didn't.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff, like, it's 50-50.
Yeah.
Not 100-100, you know what I mean? Like, we're both in this. And it's not we're going to give up tomorrow. It's every day we wake up, we're going to dedicate ourselves to making things work. And we didn't do that early on. So it was a struggle.
Yeah, because a lot of people don't have that knowledge, the knowledge from the Bible. In the Bible, it says a man shall get with a woman and become his wife and leave, like, basically
Parents.
like leave your mother and father, like,
And become one.
and become one flesh.
And so if she's suffering, I'm suffering.
Mm-hmm.
If your right hand hurts, you feel it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, there is no winning and losing today. I'm not good with feelings, bro. I've never really been good with. I'm probably one of the most insensitive people at times, and I'm probably not the best. I think because all the painful things I went through, it desensitized me. So I really got to be intentional. It's not that I don't want to, but I got to be very intentional at times to make sure that I'm doing the right thing, because it's not about me. It's about what's best for the person with me. Even if I have to make a decision that costs me the friendship, I got to do what's best for them. And it's hard to put other people above yourself. And I was telling Caleb, because I like to hunt and fish, but I kind of like my marriage more.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I had to sacrifice things that I like to do because I want this more. I want this to work more. I want that legacy to be left. And I want people to see that you can make it in marriage, despite what the world says.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I think like if we took the example of the Bible more, because in the Bible also in the beginning it says that he took a rib from Adam
and gave it to Eve,
and he made Eve out of it, right?
Yeah, something
like that, a rib.
Yeah.
So basically, the woman is like part of us. The woman that we decide to marry and be with, if I, okay, let's see my example. If I would have been in the Bible and from the beginning, I probably would have only been married once.
Right.
But I didn't know all those things. I didn't know. So I made so many mistakes, so many things did bad because neither of us knew anything about the Bible.
No, so you both going your own way, trying to fight for what's best for you.
Yeah, instead of going like this, we're going like that.
Yeah.
Fighting over everything. And then my second marriage, same thing. We didn't put God, we didn't center God. So it's just a chaos. So now that I'm in my third marriage, I'm trying to put me and my wife's the one that used to go to church before me. So now that I got more Christ, so I'm I'm trying to learn as much as the Bible. So when I talk to her, I tell her about the Bible stories. I'm like, babe, oh, we shouldn't think like that because, you know, Noah did this and this is what happened and the flood came in and killed everybody. So if we're not the righteous people, God can come at any time. And when he comes, if we're not trying to be righteous, we could be stuck in the flood. You know, and she'll be like, wow, that's cool. Because I'll learn these Bible stories and by me telling her, it kind of gives her, you know, that inspiration.
But now you're weak.
Yeah.
Now we're weak men.
Yeah, but it's okay.
It is.
It's okay.
It is okay. And we submit to Christ and let him be strong.
Mm-hmm.
And man, when we love our wives the way we're supposed to, life is so much happier.
Yes.
There's peace. And even in the arguments that, well, I don't even know what we argue about. Mostly something silly.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm probably usually the one doing something dumb, but it just looks different when you're focused on God. Because would you punch yourself in the face?
No.
But if our wives, you know what I mean? It doesn't make sense for us to treat our own flesh. It's silly. It just shows how selfish we are.
Yeah.
And how prideful we are. And I remember one time someone saying ego, easing God out. Like, it's not about us. And that was the hardest thing for me to realize. I bought into this American dream and all these false lies that we have presented to us. And I'd be cool living in a hut by the river. She was gone for a couple of days, and I'm like, a house ain't a house without your family.
Yeah.
There's nothing here I want to be for myself. I don't even care if I'm here.
I know.
If I'm alone. So that building doesn't exist or have anything unless the people you care about are in it.
Yeah, you're right.
And why should they have to wake up and go to bed feeling like or walk on eggshells because you want to be a turd?
Mm-hmm.
And so I try to keep that. And so Caleb's experiencing some of that. And early on, he kind of saved me because I'm like, man, I can't say this. Caleb's here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I shouldn't say that anytime.
Yeah.
Christ is always here.
Yeah.
And so.
Oh, so Caleb coming actually helped you too.
Yes. Yeah.
Because then you said,
accountability.
I have to set an example for him.
I'm accountable now.
He was holding you accountable.
He didn't know he was.
Yeah.
So just because I'm walking with somebody in their life and I feel like I'm helping them, they're helping me.
Yeah.
It's a give and take. And so Caleb early on gave me some accountability. Because now, I mean, when you're just alone with your spouse, nobody can hear if you're a jerk or not.
Yeah.
Because you just walk out smiling. Oh, yeah, we're cool.
Yeah.
But it's not cool. So
he holds you accountable at the same time.
But he didn't know it early on.
No, of course. Yeah.
He wasn't aware that his presence was holding me to another level. And now it's second nature for me.
Yeah.
I still do dumb things. I never want nobody to think that I'm.
Yeah, none of us are perfect.
No,
nobody was perfect besides Jesus.
I strive for perfection, but when I fall short, I'm able to turn and at least admit that I was wrong and apologize.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't grow up apologizing. First of all, I never admitted I was wrong, and we just didn't apologize. I never really heard, "Hey, I'm sorry."
Yeah.
I never heard that.
Yeah.
I didn't know what love was. I didn't know what compassion was. I didn't know what serving meant. Well, I did serve myself, love myself. That's all I knew.
Yeah.
So I did that pretty good. I was pretty selfish. So without Christ, without the Holy Spirit, without being daily in God's word, you don't know who God is until you get in tough times. When you was in prison, you knew who you was when you was in tough times.
Yeah.
When it's good, everybody's your buddy.
Yeah, I was praying like crazy in prison every night. But when I was in the street, I never prayed at all.
No.
It's crazy. We come looking for God when we're in trouble.
Right.
But when I came out of prison, I didn't pray every night.
No, because you had what you wanted.
Yeah.
And so it's a different way of life. And for a lot of these young kids, the blended family is getting stronger, there's more blended families, more kids absent from parents, grandparents. It's getting harder and harder, and the anger is getting deeper and deeper. And it's hard to break that cycle. It's really hard. So anybody that can learn now, any young person who's listening now, it's hard. It's hard to tell a kid that's living somewhere starving that there's a way. And it's it's not always right now, but
Mm-hmm.
there are people out there that do care to be willing to
Mm-hmm.
be with them.
What do you recommend to somebody that's 25, that's in hard times, and they need to like find a way to Jesus? What would be their first step?
Find a good church, a Bible believing church. Seek it out. Pray to God that He will open that door for you. I know us at Grace Point would love the opportunity to speak in anybody's life.
Mm-hmm.
It's intentional, and it's hard because you're untraining everything that you ever thought, saw, learned, did in your whole life.
Mm-hmm.
It's complete opposite. So there's a lot of pain involved, a lot of being honest, but seek out who Christ really is. Open the Bible up and find a church that really believes in who Jesus is.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of bad churches out there, so
Yeah,
you got to be intentional to find one that's
find what is good for you.
yeah.
Yeah, I also recommend people to like just get into like if you're always on social media, look up some Christian pastors or look up some, because every once in a while, if you know how social media, it can feed you a bunch of bad stuff, but if you intentionally look for good stuff, you'll find some good stuff.
I would tell you if the person speaking always makes you feel good,
Mm-hmm.
you're probably on the wrong channel.
Okay, yeah,
A good pastor that's telling you the word is probably going to make you feel uncomfortable.
yeah, you're right.
If it's not convicting you and making you feel frustrated,
Mm-hmm.
because the truth hurts.
Yep.
If somebody's tickling your ear, it's going to feel good. If you never feel convicted or your flesh fighting it, you're probably on the wrong channel.
Yeah.
And the days are getting darker, and the pastors are getting less. The ones that are truly trying to share the gospel, and so there's a lot of feel good pastors out there that are just trying to get you to listen and
Mm-hmm.
suck you in. But find one that's Bible, God fearing, and speaks the truth of the Bible.
Yeah.
And seek nothing else. Grab the Bible and start reading John.
Mm-hmm.
Read it every day.
John. Yep. John's a good book.
So if you just start reading and praying for God to reveal somebody, bring somebody into your life, if you actively seek them out and you're trying to find them,
Mm-hmm.
I believe that He'll find a way for you to find somebody.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard enough being a family just in itself. Without Christ, I don't know how you can make it.
Yeah.
I don't see a way. You don't have the ability to do anything that Christ asks you to do.
Mm-hmm.
That's why you need Him.
Yeah.
I can't fulfill anything that He wants me to do without Him.
Yeah.
I need Him every second of the day, from the moment I wake up to the moment I go to bed, and everything in between. I need Him for everything.
Yeah.
And it's complete dependence on Him to guide me every single day. If we don't do that, we're never going to find peace, joy, all the fruits of the Holy Spirit will never be in our life.
So Jesus Christ, He's a really big part of your life, huh?
Yes, He's the only reason that I deserve death or prison. I deserve hell. I don't deserve any of the blessings of Him without Him. And He has been so faithful. We still got a long ways to go. We still got a lot of relationships to mend.
Mm-hmm.
I'm praying that one day we'll be able to make them right. I ask God to give us the opportunity to make amends, and be able to show His love through our marriage,
Mm-hmm.
through how we love God. There's not any other shortcut.
Yeah.
It's Him and Him alone.
Yeah.
And so it's not like in anything else where you have these different paths you can take. There's one path through Christ, what He did, and then placing your faith in Him, accepting Him. Christ, He gives us everything to see that He exists.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing's by accident. I mean, we have nature, everything around us. If you just breathe for a second outside of the city, it's hard. You can't even see sun or the stars in the city because of the fog and everything else.
Yeah, the pollution and all.
Yeah, you can't even see the skyline. Get out and look at what God did. He gives us all the examples he needs to believe in him.
Mm-hmm.
We just got to turn to him, and he will open his arms and grab you and never let go if you place and give him your heart.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the only thing I can tell anybody, because it doesn't work without him.
Yeah.
There's no other option. You're either in or out.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't want to force you in.
Yeah, yeah.
He's not a violent God that wants to arm wrestle you in. He wants you to choose. I ask these questions all the time. Like, do you want your wife to love you because she has to or chooses to?
Yeah, because she chooses.
Yeah, based on what Yogi does as a man.
Mm-hmm.
Not because you're holding her hostage. So
Yeah.
God's not going to do that. So we have to pursue him, and once we do, and we accept him, and we're his part, he adopts us into his family. We're his forever, and he promises to take care of us.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's foreign to people that are around negativity all the time.
Yeah. What kind of advice do you give to a younger couple so they can eventually maybe find Christ or something? Or just as a young couple, like, me when I was, dude, I didn't know nothing. When I first got married, I didn't have, like, I did have examples, but I didn't understand anything on how to do it.
Put Christ at the center of your marriage.
Mm-hmm.
If I wasn't married to a woman that was willing to, in her mistakes, go to Christ and rectify it and turn, or me, either one of us,
Mm-hmm.
it's so hard. I mean, marriage does not work without God. And let me say, in a godly sense of doing what God calls us to do, what he calls us to do, and who for us to be, for the example for the world. We can't do it without him. So it's pursue him together. I'm just not, they say a family that prays together stays together. We pray for dinner, but I struggle with praying with my wife before bed.
Mm-hmm.
I struggle with it. But a family that prays together stays together.
Yeah.
You're committed to make it through this life together, to fight battles together, to love people together. And it is a beautiful thing when them things are met.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing beautiful about coming home and people screaming, throwing ashtrays at each other.
Yeah.
But when that's all you ever see, that's what you do. History repeats itself. And relationships repeat themselves. And if you've never seen that, when you get into a healthy church, you'll see relationships lived out in a way that you can follow. So it's important to get into we have a Bible study every week, where right now men and women are together. And so we're going through it together, and it helps.
Mm-hmm.
It's the only way, is to be able to do it together as a family and with your church family.
Yeah. So that's a good advice. Find Christ, or like, you even go to church and see what the other couples, and that's like watching a live, it's almost like somebody you can like grab and touch and say, wow, like you guys are living. But everything's not, people go to church and it looks all good.
No, you got to definitely do your homework.
Once you get to know them and stuff.
Someone said, you don't have to go to church to love God. But then someone told me, you ain't got to live at home to be married. But
yeah,
how's your marriage going to be if you ain't there every night?
Yeah,
you got to be in, and you have to be unified and do this battle together. And when you have people, then you end up meeting a farmer that's got meat that you can buy that when times are tougher. You meet these type of resources that are available for people to just feed off each other.
Yeah.
And Caleb he's mesmerized because he's young and he's never seen none of this stuff.
Yeah.
So when he's seeing people do stuff, you don't see that in the big city or necessarily in a lot of places.
Yeah, especially with the world. The world is so worldly. Right. It's not about Christ. It's
about self.
It's about self.
Yeah, go borrow a cup of sugar and don't pay it back next week.
Yeah. Yeah, they'll come knocking on your door.
Like Rent-A-Center.
Yeah. That's where we live. That's what this world is, like a big Rent-A-Center.
Right.
Like everybody, they do you a favor, but they want something right back. Or, hey, let me get some money. Or everything's...
Yeah, so if we follow Christ, we get involved in it. I know we would love to have people. And we're always open and available.
Yeah. And you guys are always guiding. and you and your wife are guiding people all the time. You said you've actually your cousin Donnie lived there,
Yeah.
and then you say Caleb.
My daughter
So-
lives in our apartment right now.
So yeah, so you guys are guiding people into Jesus Christ and helping your family too.
It feels good for me to be able to go back to where it was not the things that are happening without Christ wouldn't be possible. The experiences we're experiencing is only because of the grace of God.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if he can trust you in situations, the more people he's going to put in your life.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just pray that whoever needs to hear things, that they're available. I know I'm always willing to sit down with anybody, any young man. If I could stop any young man from doing any of this, I mean, I had a domestic violence in my first marriage. We don't get to do them things, and there's nothing that's going to come from them that's good.
Nothing.
And so, if I can ever get the chance to sit down with a young man, I'm always available. I don't care if it's 3 o'clock in the morning. If somebody's struggling, my phone's always available.
Okay.
And so I think we have to have that mindset. And it's not about if I lose an hour of sleep, it's if that family can get an hour of sleep because they're not fighting. So that's my goal today, brother.
Yeah, that's awesome. Hey man, I appreciate you so much for coming on my podcast and tell me a bit some. I know there's more to your story because it seems like you hold back a little bit, but it's okay. I want you to feel comfortable, and then I know that you could probably go way deeper into some situations, but it's okay. And I appreciate having you so much. Do you want to do a little prayer for us as we go out?
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's pray. Let's pray, and then after that, we'll end the podcast.
Okay. Dear Heavenly Father, I thank you for opportunities like this. We have technology and abilities to reach people that we didn't have before. And it's not easy sharing your story, especially when you did a horrible job. But God uses these tragedies to show how good you are. And I just ask that whoever is meant to hear or that needs to hear this, that it's there for them. And as a brother in Christ, I'm always available. Our church is always available. And I just ask that you be with us as we go tonight. And you be with this message as it goes. Amen.
Amen. Have faith, show love, give hope, let go, let God. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate you guys. We'll see you next week. Thank you, Stan.